The scorching desert sun hung heavy in the sky, casting long shadows over the dusty landscape of Fallujah. It was 2004, and the Second Battle of Fallujah was in full swing, a brutal conflict that would come to be known as the fiercest urban battle for U.S. forces since Vietnam. Among the thousands of soldiers deployed was Staff Sergeant James "Jim" Callahan, a seasoned Marine with piercing blue eyes and a jaw set with determination. He had seen his fair share of war, but nothing could have prepared him for the blood-soaked streets of this Iraqi city. Jim's unit, the 1st Battalion, 8th Marines, had been tasked with clearing insurgents from a sector known to be heavily fortified. The enemy was deeply embedded, using the city's tight alleyways and bomb-ridden buildings to their advantage. Every step forward was a gamble. Every door they breached could be rigged with explosives. The mission was simple: infiltrate a suspected insurgent stronghold and secure it before dawn. However, war was never simple. Jim knew that as he tightened the strap on his helmet, his rifle a familiar weight in his hands. His squad, a mix of battle-hardened veterans and fresh-faced recruits, moved in unison through the crumbling remains of what had once been a bustling neighborhood. Lance Corporal Tyler Briggs, the youngest in the squad at just 20, whispered nervously, "Sarge, you ever get used to this?" His voice trembled despite his best efforts to sound composed. Jim glanced at the kid, offering a small, reassuring smirk. "You don't get used to it, Briggs. You just learn to live with it. Keep your head down and watch your corners." The squad reached the targeted building, a 2-story house that intelligence suggested was being used as a weapons cache. The street was eerily quiet, the kind of silence that made Jim's instincts scream danger. He signaled his men forward, their boots crunching softly against the debris-strewn ground. Corporal Diaz took point, placing a steady hand on the wooden door before giving Jim a nod. With a swift kick, the door burst open, and the team flooded in, rifles raised, scanning for hostiles. Then all hell broke loose. Gunfire erupted from the upper level, bullets raining down like a deadly storm. "Contact! 2nd floor!" Diaz shouted, diving for cover behind an overturned table. Jim reacted instinctively, returning fire while barking orders. "Briggs, Layton, flank left. Harris, with me." His voice cut through the chaos as his team scrambled into action. Briggs and Layton moved swiftly, using the walls for cover as they edged toward the staircase. Jim followed close behind, adrenaline surging through his veins. As they neared the stairs, a grenade tumbled down from above, its metallic clatter sending a jolt of fear through them. "Grenade!" Harris yelled, diving away. Without hesitation, Jim grabbed Briggs and shoved him back, shielding him just as the explosion rocked the building. The blast sent him sprawling, his ears ringing, pain searing through his shoulder, where shrapnel had torn through his uniform. Through the haze of dust and blood, Jim pushed himself up, ignoring the sharp sting in his side. "Briggs, you good?" The young Marine coughed, his face smeared with dirt, but he nodded. "Thanks, Sarge. You saved my ass." "Damn right I did. Now, let's finish this." They pressed forward, clearing room after room until they reached the source of the resistance. A small group of insurgents had barricaded themselves in a back room, their last stand imminent. Jim's squad took up positions, readying for a final assault. "Flashbang out," Diaz shouted, tossing the grenade inside. A blinding light and deafening bang filled the space, disorienting the enemy just long enough for the Marines to storm in. Within moments, the room was secured. The battle was over. As the smoke cleared, Jim exhaled deeply, wiping sweat from his brow. His men were alive, some injured but alive. That was all that mattered. Hours later, as the city smoldered under the dimming sun, Jim sat outside the secured building, his rifle resting across his lap. Briggs approached, hesitation in his step. "Sarge, back there, you didn't have to do that." Jim shook his head. "That's where you're wrong, kid. Out here, we watch each other's backs. Always." Briggs nodded, understanding dawning in his eyes. War had a way of forging unbreakable bonds, and in that moment, Jim knew that no matter what happened, they were brothers. The battle raged on for weeks, But Jim and his squad continued to fight with unwavering resolve. Some didn't make it home, their sacrifices etched into the annals of history. But those who did carried with them the stories of courage, sacrifice, and the true cost of valor. Years later, Jim found himself standing at the Arlington National Cemetery, staring at the names of those he had fought alongside. He traced the engraving of Tyler Briggs' name, who had fallen in a later mission, and whispered a promise. "You're not forgotten, brother. Never." As the wind carried his words away, Jim saluted, knowing that the battle would forever live in his heart, a testament to the price of freedom and the enduring spirit of those who gave everything.